All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see how this position works tonight because I'm having a problem with, once again, my microphone frame is having some issues. You're going to hear some draining going off in the background. It's not really draining. It's my coffee maker back there making me some tea. I haven't gotten that done yet. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show on the road, shall we? Without further ado, you're listening to the world-famous Rich Wilson Show. And it starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world-famous Rich Wilson Show.
Hey guys, how you doing tonight? Yours surely, the world famous Rich Wilson here. I was putting together something for the show, realized what time it was, and knew that I didn't have really any time to get it done. I went to have lunch with my son today, and that's the reason why. Not to mention the fact, be honest with you guys, you know, my head just not quite in it. It's been, in my head, it's been a day. It's not, you know, it's not anything anybody did. It's just, it's been a day in my head. I'm finishing up my tea. Using the last of my sugar there. Well, it's stevia that I have my tea. It's a peppermint tea. It's good stuff. I told you yesterday I was having an issue with my sinuses. Today's no different. You should have seen the sneezing fit I had earlier today. It was pretty ridiculous. And when you get your teeth worked on like I have and they're still healing and you sneeze, it's just insanely painful. But, yeah, so anyway, you just find a way, work your way through it. But one of the reasons why I have the issue, or I had issue where today just not kind of been not a great day in my head is because one of the things that I have a condition called bipolar. Okay. Now my bipolar disorder has a tendency to go from manic, being running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, to depression, like that. It also anger, things like that. I have some issues with that. Now, a lot of people will say that, oh, well, I'm bipolar, because I'm depressed all the time. No, you could be a manic depressive. You could actually be, it can be a totally different thing. Or you could just be a person that has a very negative outlook on life, because those people exist too. But people who are bipolar, you can't control these things. You could be in a situation where everybody's supposed to be happy, and it doesn't. It's you're not happy. You're thinking you're supposed to be happy, but your brain is saying no. And it sucks. It really does. But you'll never hear me say that I suffer from or I'm a victim of, because I don't believe in that. I just live life a little more challenging, I guess you could say. It's like I never know what mood I'm going to be in when I show up. And some people mistake it for, oh, well, he doesn't seem like he's real appreciative of things. Well, no, I am. It's just, it may not be the emotion that I'm showing at the time, because that's not what's happening. And a lot of people will tell, and a lot of physicians will tell you, it's a chemical imbalance that you have in the brain. And unfortunately, the brain fires off the wrong chemicals at the wrong time, which trigger the wrong things. And it's pretty much it. Are there some things that can cause that trigger, your brain to trigger off the wrong things? There are things. It's like some people tell you, no, it's completely 100% at random. No, actually, that's not true. It happens. It can happen at random. You can literally be walking down the street and suddenly your mood shifts for no reason, no thought, nothing caused it. But some of the times there are emotional situations that can change that aspect because your brain's not reacting to it properly. And understand that in feelings, your brain reacts in certain ways. Okay. If you're supposed to be sad, your brain releases a certain chemical that, gives that describes to, your emotional and physical appearance that you're sad, if you're depressed, or if you're mad, things like that. Certain chemicals, different chemicals get released at certain points to make these things happen. Sometimes, a lot of times when you're bipolar, it's a situation where you have to be depressed, right? A family member dies and you want to be sad. But all of a sudden, you're overcome with joy. And you have no idea why. And you're like, why am I happy? I shouldn't be happy. Or it's a situation where you should be happy. Like you go to a friend's wedding and you're absolutely happy for them. But you're sitting in the back thinking about ending it all. For no reason. Because the emotional event that is supposed to cause your brain to react a certain way, your brain reacted a different way. Now, they have medications for this, and I've tried them. And the problem I have with the medications is, number one, a couple of the medications they tried to put me on made me feel like I couldn't sit still. If I did, one of them specifically, if I sat still for too long, it actually made my skin hurt. It was really weird. If I wasn't moving, and it got so bad that at one point when I was taking the medication, I went without sleep because laying down to go to sleep hurt, and I actually started suffering from sleep deprivation because I wasn't sleeping. I had to stop taking it. And then, of course, the psychologist that I was seeing that gave me the medication kept telling me, oh, no, it'll go away after a couple weeks. And then I found out later he was sponsored by the pharmaceutical company. He was getting paid to prescribe their drug. Almost like it was like a psychological clinical trial for this medication. But then I found out I know other people that have taken that drug. And I ran into one person who had the same problem. They found out he was allergic to it. So it's very possible that I had an allergic reaction to it. But a bunch of the different stuff that I've been on. So what I've learned to do over the years is just kind of like, okay, let me show something on the outside. So if I'm actually torn up inside, I'm still like, everything's good. The problem is there's a lot of times where I don't even realize I'm not showing my that I don't realize I'm showing the reaction, and I think I'm showing everything's good, and people are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fine." No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Um, and it's not. It's me not realizing. Oh shit! It actually looks like somebody just shot my couch. So it is difficult, and like I said, for me today, I was sitting here working on the show. And in all honesty, I was sitting there working on it, and I really had no interest in putting the show together. I really didn't. I was just kind of just sitting there staring at my keyboard. Sorry. I was staring at the keyboard. Just like I really just wasn't interested in doing anything. It sucks, and I hate it because it causes a snafu in a lot of the things I do. Any of the side effects listed under moderate to severe or possible symptoms of allergy should never be brushed off. And no, it shouldn't have been. And I tried explaining that to the doctor. I was like, Doc, it really seems like it's an allergic reaction. It makes my skin hurt. It even hurt to touch it. And I tried explaining this. Oh, it'll go away for a while. It'll go away after you take it for a little while. And it didn't. And I tried. He said, oh, yeah, give it another week. It should be fine. Another week, I made it about 9 more days before the sleep deprivation got so bad that I didn't feel comfortable driving. And work was only 7 blocks away from where I was living. And I didn't feel comfortable driving anymore. I had to stop taking it. And let me tell you something. About 48 hours later, after it finally worked itself out of my system and I slept. I slept for 2 days. But yeah, like I said, then I found out later that the person was sponsored or was getting paid to prescribe this certain pharmaceuticals drugs. Now, I'm not going to go into the name of it. I'm not going to go into the company of it. But this is why anytime a friend has to deal with head docs or head meds, I have a discussion with them about being their own best advocate. Yeah. And like I said, one of the things that I decided after that was, number one, get really good at trying to hide it. Number two, just keep telling myself, I understand these are the emotions I'm having, but it's okay. Now, unfortunately, you all know a very famous actor comedian that also had bipolar, and that was Robin Williams. Robin Williams also had the same issues. He went from running at 1 billion miles an hour to wanting to end his own life. And unfortunately, later on down the road, towards the end of his life, he ended up with Alzheimer's and schizophrenia before Alzheimer's. And he would have his moments where everything was good and clear. And then he would be off for months on end. It got so bad. And unfortunately, and he's the one who actually told me about, keep telling yourself that's not how you really feel. Keep telling yourself it's going to be okay. But unfortunately, later on down the road, he lost that battle. Telling himself that everything was going to be okay. He lost that fight. Do I think that I will lose that fight? I don't know if mine is the same level of severity, because understand there's different levels of severity to it. And never once have I had a psychologist, an actual doctor sit down and try to evaluate the levels. I've had many people read all the different levels and say, well, I'm pretty sure this is what you have. And I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. Cool. And I could have it to where it's really low and not a big issue, or I could have one of the worst issues. And I know I live with the idea that one day I may lose that fight, telling myself that everything's going to be okay. And that this is not really how I feel. And one day the chemicals or the demons that are telling you it's not, that I'll eventually believe them. I can't tell you that. I don't know. I just know that in my life, this is, when I get them, this is not how I feel. This is not real. You know, I feel this way, but that's not how I feel. And it's really weird to listen to it when you think about it. Unless you're somebody that has this, that deals with this, you don't understand the argument that you have in your own head. You don't understand that you really feel a certain way, and then but then you tell yourself you don't really feel that way, and it's an ongoing argument. And people who don't ever understand that, or don't ever go through that, think that you're just downright crazy. And for a long time, people with this issue were literally institutionalized for it. You know, because it a lot of them just said, "Oh, it's a form of schizophrenia. It's not, you know, it's not a chemical imbalance anywhere. It's schizophrenia. You're nuts." But you're not. It's not that you're crazy. It's just sometimes the wiring is not running the direction it is. The message that goes from point A to point B actually went to point C instead, and then went to D, and then came back to A, but B got left out of the loop. Like, B is the last one to know. And drugs can't or don't fix a lot of the symptoms of numerous mental health issues. That's what therapy is so important. Coping skills, cognitive skills to manage the out of whack feelings, a whole toolbox. And like I said, I read a bunch of things on from people who have bipolar. And like I said, I got to sit down and talk with Robin Williams as well about this. He was actually doing a conference up in Lake Tahoe where I met him, and I talked to him about. I got a chance to talk to him about it because I didn't go to the conference. I ran into him. I'll tell you the story, okay? So I was delivering for FedEx Home Delivery at the time up in South Lake Tahoe, and I happened to be up at Heavenly Ski Resort in South Lake to deliver some packages, because Heavenly Village has a whole lot of businesses and stuff in there, and I was delivering it, and I was kind of tired for a moment, and I was running pretty hard, and I sat down over at the bench. I was like, oh, I'm going to take a moment. And this guy sits down next to me, and I don't look at him or nothing. He's sitting on the bench, and I'm just kind of people watching while I'm taking a moment. I got my dolly sitting next to me. It's a hand cart for some of y'all. Some people, we call it a dolly. Some people call it a hand cart, just in case you're not thinking I have like a little doll. So anyway, so I'm sitting there, and I'm watching some of these people, and this guy next to me sits there and starts making jokes about the people walking by, and he's like, "Look at that woman over there. She thinks she's hot stuff, but the way she's walking looks like she's dealing with a yeast infection." And I'm just sitting there like, I'm kind of busting up. And I'm just like, what? And he goes, "Yeah, look at that one over there. You know, that guy over there, you know," and it just, and I look over next to me, and it's Robin Williams. Just sitting there on the bench making jokes about people walking by while I'm sitting next to him. And I turned around, I looked down, and I was like, "Holy crap." He goes, "Holy crap." And I was like, "You're Robin Williams." He goes, "No shit, I am." I said, "Yeah, I noticed you're Robin Williams." He goes, "Well, I'm glad you know. Sometimes I don't, but I'm glad you know. And that's really great to know that I am who I am because you said I am." And just the way he went, it was so hilarious. And I turned around and said, I said, "Are you up here shopping or something?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I'm over in that building over there. They think I'm an expert on you know, being, you know, having emotional issues." And I was like, "So what? They brought you in so you could, you know, liven up the joint? It sounds like kind of a dry subject." He goes, "Yeah, it is a dry subject. It really is, especially when you're the keynote speaker, because you have that problem." And I'm like, I was not aware of that, sir." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, and we talked about it for a minute, and then he immediately stops me while we're talking about it, because I didn't come out here to talk about what's fucked up in my head. I don't think you want to talk about what's fucked up in your head. I think we want to sit here and we want to make fun of people. He goes, "That seems like a fun thing to do, doesn't it?" And I said, "Okay, sure." So we sat there for a good 10 minutes just making fun of people walking by and making comments about people. Well, there was a couple people that walked over that recognized him from a distance and got his autograph and stuff. But, you know, I looked at him and I said, sir, I could sit here all day and do this. I said, but he goes, I know you got to go back to work. And I was like, yeah, I said, I really do. I said, but I want to thank you. I said, I've been going through a lot of issues and stuff like that and dealing with this. And he stops me and he goes, he says, I want you to think about this. He goes, every time you think the world's going to end. He goes, every time you think the world's going to end. He goes, just think to yourself, not today. Not today. Maybe tomorrow, but not today. And I said, maybe tomorrow? He goes, because tomorrow you'll wake up and then you're going to say it again. Not today, maybe tomorrow, but not today. And you're going to keep saying that every day. And no matter how dark it gets, he goes, because I'm pretty sure it gets pretty dark in that head of yours. He goes, just tell yourself, there's a light in here. And after I stub my toe on every piece of furniture in this room, I'll figure out how to turn on the light. and I laughed, but he's right. And so I applied that with some of the other things that I read about dealing with being bipolar. And, you know, it's like I jokingly tell people when they ask me, hey man, how you doing? And I always respond back with something like, well, I woke up above the dirt today, so it's or I'm still breathing, so every day is a bonus. You know, things like that. It's not necessarily because I'm trying to make somebody smile, although it does work. It does make them smile. But it's also me reaffirming to myself that, hey, I haven't checked out yet, so there's still more time to do things. There's still an opportunity to keep going. You know, so part of it is to make the person I'm engaging with when I open up the conversation, because any of you know me, I open up my conversation to engage, to get you to smile right off the bat, to break the ice. And then we can talk about whatever. And that's always been one of my things. And so it became a way for me to not only make you smile, but it also became a way for me to reaffirm to myself that, hey, you woke up this morning. You got another chance at this. Now, eventually, one day, I'm not going to be able to say that. But I just hope y'all got at least something nice to say. And, you know, please, God, have barbecue at my wake afterwards. I mean, for crying out loud, barbecue and some beer. But I figure the day I can't say that anymore is because I didn't wake up above the dirt. I'm not up breathing. It's over with. So there'd be no point in me reaffirming to myself at that point, because it stopped. And, you know, it's kind of like another thing that I tell people all the time. You know, when it comes to this, I look at people and I tell them, it's like, hey, thank you. My Aunt Susan's over there watching on Facebook. I tell people all the time who get in these modes where they think they're better than everybody, is I like to look at them and go, hey, I know you think you're better than the next guy, but understand something. Death is undefeated. None of us are getting out of this alive. And no matter how good and no matter how more important than everybody else you think you are, at some point your heart will stop beating just like the rest of us. So you are no different than any of us. You know, now what happens on the other side, that's up to your beliefs. But and that's how I try to treat things. Nobody is better than anybody else around here. Okay. People like to say that, oh, these people think they're so much better. Oh, I don't like these people because they're better than me. Are they better than you? They're not. Because in the end, their heart will stop beating just like yours. They were born just like you. They had to go through life just like you. Okay, now their life may be different than yours, but the beginning and the end is still the same. Okay? You will be born and you will die. So there's no legitimate reason to think you're better than anybody else. Unfortunately, these are the things, that you think about, because when you have time to where you get stuck in your own head, these are the kind of thoughts you have. And no, they're not drug induced. And I know a lot of people tune in tonight and they're like, oh, what's Rich going to talk about news wise, stuff like that. And instead, I got to talking about something that was personal for me, because I felt like since I'm in that haze, or that haze right now of what's going on up here, I felt like this would be a good topic to talk. It would be a good topic to talk about because it affects me personally, and it affects a lot of other people who get misdiagnosed. There's a lot of other people out there who have mental health condition or issues that get misdiagnosed. I've had it. I've been diagnosed with what I'm talking about, but to the severity of it, I have not. Like I said, mainly because the psychologists that I've run into are usually doing some kind of sponsorship program. If you can only see the world in terms of better or worse, you are missing much of the human experience. Only when you quit worrying about such trivial things, you can experience profound beauty of the world and humanity. And you're right. I don't look at anybody in this world being better than me. I don't look at anybody in this world being lesser than me. Except maybe pedophiles. Them I look lower. There's a class of citizens that have done some bad things that they're on the bottom of the list. But I really don't view people that way. I've been accused of being, bigot and a phobe of whatever it is and things like that. And people don't understand. I don't see people different than anyone else. We are all human beings and we're all individuals. And just like station manager just said over here in this chat line, if you only see the world in terms of better or worse, then you're missing out on the human experience. And it is, because you know what? I have met some people in my life that were truly amazing human beings. And if if you live in that world where people are either better than you or worse than you, or you're worse than them or better than them, then you miss it. You miss out on some of the best people in the world, and some of the friendships that I've had and some of the things I've learned, and family members that I have and the things that I have learned from them. If I honestly felt that way, I would not have the knowledge or the experiences, and I would not have been willing to do things to get the experiences that I have. I wouldn't have been willing to go with somebody to go do something that I've never done before, because either I thought I was better than that or I didn't. I didn't. Now, do I have a problem where I feel like I don't deserve don't deserve things, and people look at me and go, oh, he's humble. It is. There's a lot of times mentally, because of this, I think that I don't deserve anything that I have earned or given. I don't think I deserve any of that. I always look at it like I didn't do enough to deserve this. I didn't do enough for that. I didn't do, and people are like, oh, he's humble. And it's because my brain actually thinks that. Okay. Being humble is one thing, but my brain legitimately tells me you didn't earn that. You didn't do enough to do that. And it is, unfortunately, with the chemical imbalances that happen, it is a thing that happens. And once again, like I said, you're an acorn. That's all I have to say. Well, hey. it's one of those things that you have to deal with, and when people try to tell you that no, you did earn this, you worked your ass off, and you did, and you have to try and tell yourself, when you're telling yourself that that's not true, you have to then tell yourself, no, it is true. And it gets difficult, and these problems with the misdiagnoses of mental conditions out there, and it's one of the problems we have in this country, and where a lot of things are spinning out of control from, is somebody sending me a private message on this. Give me a second, folks. Okay. Okay. That's a private message. That's something for another time. One of the problems we're having in society is mental diagnosis. Is a lot of people that are mentally diagnosing them. They're giving their own diagnoses. There are people that are playing victims of mental disorders that they don't have. And want you to play along with it. That the mental illness that they have is not that they have the disorder they have. It's because they want you to feel sympathy for them. They want you to feel sorry for them. And there's a lot of people out there, which is unfortunate, because you have a lot of people that have genuine problems that get wrapped up into this. We definitely saw this with children, where all of a sudden all children had ADHD. All children had this, and they were just getting misdiagnosed, and parents thought that this is what they had, and parents were automatically saying, oh, my child's got ADHD, even though nobody ever said your child did. The thing is they would have said that about me when I was a kid. You know what we did to solve that problem? Okay, my Aunt Susan's over there watching on Facebook. She could tell you. They gave me less sugar. Like when I went over to my mom Sanders' house, and I love that woman to death, and I miss her so much. I miss every one of my family members. I was allowed 1 Pepsi per day. 1. And the rest of the time, I drank the instant tea mix that she made. In fact, I got really good at making it. And I was allowed 1. And my sugar was regulated. And I was not out of control, because I would get overloaded with sugar, and I would go way off the deep end. The downside to that is, for a while when I was a young adult, I got so accustomed to just consuming so much sugar that now, and I didn't have this problem before, and now I have it the older I've gotten, the worse it's gotten, is if I go between meals too long, if my blood sugar level drops, it also affects the chemical releases. I go from being perfectly fine to I want to jump off a cliff. And you can ask my significant other that I am with today. You can ask other women that have been with me throughout the years. I don't slowly go down, drop. It is, I'm here, then I'm here. Some people, it's a slow decline. They're like, I think I need to eat something. Nope. I go from I'm good to nope. Feigning illness to actual illness to just genuinely upset. We deprive ourselves of the empowerment to manage our feelings and feel better when we make it the responsibility of a pill or someone else to make us feel better. And a lot of times the only way you do make yourself better is you take responsibility within your own mental wellness to say, okay, what do I need to do? Where am I having these issues? Now, there's some people that they cannot. They have been through experiences or something is going on in their life that there's no way that they personally can battle it. But there's a lot of people out there that just look for a pill because that's the easy answer. I'll take a pill They make me feel better. I'll be good. Like I said, there's people who legitimately need them. And then there's people who don't. Then there's people who think they have a problem, so they go get one instead of just facing the reality of what's going on. It's the same thing, and I'll look at it this way. It's the same thing as alcoholism. Okay? It's the same thing as a drug addiction. You know, people say, oh, I just drink alcohol because I like the taste. Yeah, that's it. But then you drink but you find that when you drink so much, you get drunk. At first, young people tell you, oh, it's because I'm having fun. But there's an underlying issue there. Because when you cross over that line, the issues that you have go away, and it's just, put a lampshade on my head, pull my ear, see if the light turns on. You know, and then you sober up and you're like, oh my God, life sucks. So you go drink again because you noticed while you're drunk, life didn't suck. And you keep doing this over and over again. And before too long, you can't stop. Just like real drug addictions. Real drug addictions, not smoking weed. People say, oh, smoking weed is a drug addiction. No. I literally know people that smoke weed because it works as an actual pain reliever, or it helps balance some things out. It's better than pumping synthetic chemicals into your body to correct an issue. If you don't need to, don't. But if you do, natural remedies are much better than dumping synthetic chemicals into your body. Self-love, self-compassion, self-care, self-validation, self-worth. I've told people before when I've given them advice, you have to tell yourself you love yourself. People are like, You have to tell yourself you love yourself and believe it. If you can't love yourself, how can you love anyone else? Seriously. If you cannot love yourself, how can you love anybody else? Because you have to be able to. People are like, well, isn't that being selfish? No. Because in order for you to understand the love and care for another human being, you have to first love and care for the human being that's built with yourself inside of it. Without understanding that, you can't do these things. Because if you don't care about yourself and you wreck yourself, you're going to wreck other people. So you have to. That's one of the ways that you start to get right with the issues that you have. You have to love yourself. You have to care about yourself. If you don't think you are worthy, you will never believe those who think you are. I've had that problem forever. It's back to where I said, I didn't do enough. I don't deserve this. I didn't do this. I don't get, that shouldn't happen. And then the problem is you unfairly, and I caught myself doing this, when you self-impose a bar that you could never reach, that you're never going to be good enough. Unfortunately, you had that same expectation for other people. And eventually, and I found that in the same way, and I was starting to judge people in this organization I was part of at that same bar that I could never reach, so they were never going to reach it. And I had to eventually learn, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Stop putting your invisible bar that you will never achieve onto other people. And once I realized stop putting it onto other people, I said to myself, maybe I should stop putting it on me too. If they're not held to the same standard, why should I hold myself to so high of a standard that it's never achievable? I will always be a failure. And so I said, you know what? No more. Sometimes things will go wrong. Sometimes things will go right. It's life. You can't be successful 100% of the time, and don't expect to be successful 100% of the time. Do I still get down on myself because I have moments where I fail? I do. Ask my significant other or my station manager. After a show, I literally will come down and go, come down from this office and go down to the living room. And I will sit there and go, I think the show sucked. I don't know if I really like the show, blah, blah, blah. And station manager has to tell me, your show was great. And my significant other has to sit there and say, no, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed your show. So, so I still do that because I think every time I go to do something, I always second guess myself. I could have done this different. I could have done that different. Like tonight, I could have done this whole show differently, but I didn't. I decided, no, I'm just going to open up a show and talk about the first thing that pops in my head. And this is what popped in my head. Why? Because it's what I've been dealing with all day. I did still accomplished stuff today, but this is what I've been dealing with behind the scenes, And I thought when I started talking, I was like, this may not be a show that everybody's going to like, but there might be somebody out there somewhere that tonight is wondering, is it okay? Tomorrow morning, am I still going to be breathing? Is it going to be all right? I can tell you, it will be all right tomorrow. Trust me. Every morning when I wake up my eyes, even if I'm tired and I'm grumpy because the dogs woke me up at stupid early hours in the morning, there's still a part of my brain that goes, we get another shot at this. And there's somebody out there tonight that they may accidentally stumble across my show. And they be wondering, is it okay? It'll be all right. It sucks now. Trust me, I know. But it'll be all right. Because if you allow yourself to go to sleep tonight and wake up the next morning, you get another shot at this. A night before something goes south. So anyway, guys, you guys have yourselves a good night. I hope somewhere out there tonight I reached someone. Yep, and now I gotta. Yep, nope, it's done. We're actually not on the air anymore. So, all right. We'll catch you guys later. You guys, if anybody's out there still watching, have yourselves a good night. We'll see you later. We got issues. All right. Good night. Stay safe out there and wake up tomorrow morning. Tell yourself you love you. It'll be all good.